Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks a lot for being here. Being on a Friday and early in the morning, it's not easy, so we really do appreciate you guys being here. So just as a bit of introduction, we do not have that much time, so please go ahead and introduce yourself and what you do at your own companies.
Yeah, my name is Antonio. I'm coming from ING Spain, so you know that ING is a bank based in the Netherlands, but also with a lot of different branches in the different European countries. I'm very happy to be here. I'm leading analytics and customer interaction here locally, but also globally. I'm very happy to be here we are in a bank, but we consider ourselves as a fintech, so very happy.
So I'm Rory or Roberto. I'm here from Spain, from Asturias, but I live in Latam for the last 9 years. Basically, we are building a global corporate bank. We have been born in Mexico, but at the same time we develop or we build US and Europe as well. Basically, what we are doing is global credit corporate cards, as well as payments or cross-border transactions, just for corporates.
Great. And myself, I'm a partner at Ignea. Ignea is a venture capital fund out of Mexico. We have $400 million in assets under management. We have invested into 60 startups, early stage, mostly in fintech, but also in e-commerce and in B2B SaaS type of companies. So to get started, I want to get your perspective regarding, we're going to talk about personalization and we're going to talk about privacy at the same time, but to me, there's a very fine line between deep personalization and privacy. So what's your take on that, on both perspectives?
No, I will start. Yeah. So I think that it's always what the customer will perceive, right? So because the more personal that you are, could be perceived as an intrusion on the customer side. And this is something that you need to understand first, what the customer is feeling, what they are asking for, what they want to receive from us, because in a practical way, we are managing a lot of data from the customer side, but also how is the value that you are generating, because sometimes the privacy is, on the customer side, there is always a trade-off. So we know that we are empowering the company with all the data that we are generating because we are obtaining a value. If there is not a positive value on the customer side, then, of course, these questions about the privacy and what are you doing with my data pop up, no? And then, first, for me, the question is, first, you need to understand your customer, so what they are asking for. Second, how to be sure that whatever you do, from a personalization perspective, you are creating value on the customer side.
Yes, I completely agree that personalization today is the most important thing. That's why we are born as well. The first thing, looking at GIFs, basically you can build your own global corporate bank. You have many different partnerships that you can connect with. For example, to give some examples, if you are working with TravelPerk, with Okta, with different ERPs, whatever, you are able to connect with them. At the same time, we are building different tools that makes some automatization in terms of the user experience. Something that is super important is to understand the customer, as Antonio was saying, and also understanding the market. As I was saying before, we are a global corporate bank. So here in UK and Europe, the most important thing is the customer experience, while in Latam, there are other priorities, right? So once again, at the end, we are born to personalize different tools for the corporates and to be able to solve the problems that every single company is facing. Because we are a startup and we are small, we are able to adapt and to really serve these solutions to the different SMEs that we serve.
Okay. Then both companies operate in different regions of the world. So is there a difference on the way you do personalization in different geographies? What about regulation regarding privacy?
Mm-hmm. So in terms of regulations, it's the main challenge that we have in the company. But to be honest with you, to open many different countries in less than 3 years, the first thing that we did is really good partnerships. In terms of focus, I can tell you that, for example, in Latam, probably what we are doing is decreasing the cost of the service, giving access to credit, giving accessibility to different SMBs, So for example, in terms of credit, we are not asking for personal guarantees. In terms of opening a bank account, you can open a bank account with us in less than 3 days. This is a problem that I was facing when I was building Green, that it was a micromobility company. We opened this company in more than 8 countries in less than 7 months. And to open one single bank account, it takes us like 1 month. So with us, you can open in less than 1 day. On the other hand, if we come to Europe, what I was saying before, here is a little bit different because you have to focus more in customer experience. The experience of the customer is the most important thing. Also, you have to focus in innovation because you have more competition in terms of global corporate banks or in terms of fintech. So this is something super good because also for traditional banks, they have to be creative and they have to innovate. And at the end, you need to have efficiency. So one of the main objectives from GIFs is to save time from the CFOs and financial teams at the time of closing books or looking or tracking the expenses of the team.
In my case, I mean, there is a lot of difference country by country. ING is very focused on Europe, that's the reality. And we can consider Europe as one single economy, but that's not true. So especially in terms of privacy, we have one regulation that is GDPR, so it's applicable to all the countries. But when you go country by country, the implementation is not exactly the same because there are some local flavors in the implementation, right? So what you are able to do in Spain is not the same as in Italy, it's not the same as in Turkey, it's not the same as in Netherlands. That's something that we need to deal with. So in the moment that you are operating in different countries, no matter that this is the same culture, because Europe is more or less the same, the reality is that the regulation is not. That's one thing that you need to globally, if you want to operate, you need to consider. And the second one is the perception on the society, on the people is not the same. What you are able to do in one country is not the same in the others. No? And we have here always the joke of the north of Europe versus south of Europe. South of Europe, we are more open to share data and more open to obtain value with the personalization. When you go to the north of Europe, the perception of the customer is more restrictive. No? So they are more conservative to share the data, and then you need also to adapt what you are doing. No? Mm-hmm. It's true that the benefit to operate in different countries, and I'm working in ING Spain, but I'm also working in all the countries, coordinating the customer interaction role. What I'm seeing is you can share good practices, experiences, but it's very difficult to copy and put a plug and play, something that is working in one country, exactly the same in other one. That's a work.
So, go ahead. So I completely agree. And if we are looking in different continents, we have different complexities. Like, for example, the currencies. Like when we are speaking about Mexico, Spain, we have Mexican pesos versus euros. We are speaking about also languages. When we are speaking about, I don't know, Canada, US, Germany, in this case, in Europe, Italy. So there are more complexities than just the poor personalization of the product. Mm-hmm. Also the main things like language or currencies.
Okay. And this morning I was speaking to some people from your team, and they mentioned that they work in customer obsession team. So I've never heard that before, so I've found it very interesting. What does that mean?
That means, we are very creative on the names that we put in the departments, to be honest. When you go to the traditional customer experience, we said, no, it's customer obsession. For example, when we are talking about digital, it's everyday engagement. So we are trying to find more funny words rather than the traditional ones. But it's part of the culture that we have. No? That is, whatever we do, the customer goes first. And it's very easy to say, but it's very difficult to be consistent with this direction. Mm-hmm. And then we try to do it as much as possible, putting this, okay, we are totally obsessed by the customer. And that means that whatever the customer is saying, first you need to be very proud of the things that are working, but also you need to understand that you are creating pains on the customers. And then that's why this area that we have, customer obsession, they are collecting all the feedback from the customers, that we are having like a daily survey with a lot of feedback from all the customers saying this is not working.
Okay.
And if this is not working, who are going to solve this problem?
And
okay?
Is there a way to measure that? How obsessed you are with the customers? Or how the customers are obsessed with you?
The first thing, that's a good point. So there are the traditional ones that I will mention, like Net Promoter Score. No, if you have a good NPS, that means that you have a very strong recommendation on your customers. That we are so happy because ING is the #1 in Spain for almost 17, 18 years. So that's something that is the outcome. No, whatever you do, at the end, the customer is saying, "I'm very happy with you, and I will recommend you to the rest of my colleagues and families." That's something that we measure on that way. We are also measuring how many customers are entering to ING because another customer is recommending them. No? This recommendation power is something that is very important for us. And for me, the third one that is also very important is how is connected the customer perception with your brand attributes. Because sometimes you are saying something on the brand, on the communication, that doesn't fit what the customer is feeling. This strong connection, and the customer, they perceive that the brand is totally connected with the experience that they have. I think that this is the most important one.
Okay. And in the case of Jeeves, since you're working with SMEs and not with persons, is that something different, the way you treat and you try to obsess your customers with you? How much do they recommend to other potential customers? So what's your perspective?
So of course the customer at the end is the main thing of the company, and we look that the customer is super happy with us. But in a startup it's a little bit different because since you are starting, first of all you have to launch the product. The product is not always right, as you know. Once you test the product, you can understand the market product fit. Then you start to modify the product, and now is the time that after 2 years is the time that we can say that we have a product that the customers love in every single region. And now I can tell you that 30% of the new customers that we have are coming for referrals. So we have a really big referral program that is super important for us. And at the end, the Net Promoter Score is a measure that we check every single week, every single month, and is one of the key metrics for us today. But until now, it was important, but we had to build the product, we have to adapt the product, we need to listen a lot the customers to be able to get there. Something that is important is also to find the ICP, or the ideal customer profile, that it took us for a long time. I mean, I can tell you that probably we didn't even have today. Like, it's changing every single month. And for that, we are taking some companies that we believe that they could be the right companies to focus on. And with those companies, we are working super close to be able to build the product for them, because we believe that there are millions of companies like them that they need the product like Jeeves.
Okay, great. And I think it's been 15 minutes now, and we haven't spoken about AI, so that's probably a record. But it's impossible to be in a panel and not talk about AI. So what's your take on that? Are you doing efforts to include AI or not? So what's your take? How do you see the future regarding AI?
So in my case, AI is a new thing that is coming. Of course, we are focusing in AI. We really believe that is the present and the future. We don't have many tools yet about AI. It's something that I use for myself, for example. Of course, probably everyone, I'm using ChatGPT for many of my tasks. It gives me more freedom, more time, and it really works. In case of the products that we are building, some cool things that we are building with AI or automatization as well, it's like, for example, when you receive an email from a provider that you have to pay, this email, our system already takes from the email, and when you connect to Jeeves, Jeeves automatically proposes you to pay the invoice. So there are some things about AI, also about customer experience in terms of when you are speaking with a customer by the chat and all the stuff that we are really building, but today is, for us, the future, and is still at present, like, not really. I mean, we don't have that many tools today about AI.
In our case, it's a little bit different, no? Because at the end, the data that we have as a bank is, to imagine, no? It's a lot of information that we're having. We use machine learning and AI for a long time, no? To provide solutions to the customers in several domains, like, of course, credit risk management and acceptance in the moment that the customers they are asking for lending products, but also fraud, identification. But on the customer side, I want to put like few examples, no? That I think that they are more relevant from a customer experience. The first one is how we are able to personalize everything that we are presenting to the customer on the app. No? And probably you have some friends that are also ING customers. If you enter to the app, you and your friends, you are going to see something completely different. Behind that, there is a lot of models and algorithms running, identifying what we need to communicate to each customer in each single interaction. And on top of that, also, we have a lot of activity related with financial health. That's something that we consider that we as a bank, we have let me say, like the mandate to do that. No? That is how we can communicate to the customer in a very easy and transparent way what's happening with your financial situation. No? Because sometimes, and I'm working in the financial sector for almost 20 years, and sometimes I'm lost with the language and with the information that I'm having, and I don't know what I should do, right? And what we strongly believe is that we as a bank, we have not the right, but we have the mandate from the customers to do this, no? In the way of, we need to simplify as much as possible how is the situation that the customer has, how is in which sector you are spending your money, how is your trend, in this month you are better or worse versus your budget. These type of things are insights and tips that we are creating in the app, generating this type of services to the customer, and also, but try to empower as much as possible because the decision is on the customer side, right? So we need to simplify the information. We need to put all the information and all the AI capabilities that we have to generate the content, but then the customer later on, they need to decide what should I do with this, no? And that's something that for us is one of the directions, the strategic direction at a group level, that we want to be more involved in the financial health and how we can support the customers on the financial journey.
Okay. And finally, regarding regulations, especially here in Europe, we invested into a company, an AI company, that was measuring the behavior and the burnout of people within companies. There was a big change in regulation for privacy in Europe, and basically the company has needed to pivot from their business model to a different one because they just cannot do that anymore. So from your perspective regarding regulation, about privacy, how do you see the future? Is going to be more stringent regulation affecting what you do, or is it going to be a little bit looser and it's going to be easier to do what you do regarding your customers and customer experience?
I will start. So I don't see, in my case, my personal opinion is that the regulation will be more strict, but also is needed. In the way that if the regulation is focused on the customer has the power to decide what I want to do with the data and which company I want to share the data, that's the right direction. Sometimes the problem is that the regulation is putting a lot of barriers or processes that you need to communicate to the customer, a lot of complicated things, and the customer, they don't understand anything, and then it's very difficult for them to be in control. But the most important thing from the regulation is how to be sure that the customer is in control of the data first. Based on that, the company, with the data that the customer is providing, you need to provide value to the customer, but also you need to apply extra layers on top of the regulation, because the regulation is the minimum one. You need to put on place as well data ethics. No? How do you want to treat the data? This is not coming from the regulation. It's coming from common sense, and also how is the position that you want to have as a company.
Yes, just adding a small thing. I completely agree with Antonio. The only difference that we see is that depending on the market, the regulation is different. So, for example, here in UK and Europe, it's much more strict, the regulation, and I think it's getting even more because we have more competition and the customers demand different things. In case of LATAM, it's a little bit better for us. We can build faster and we can develop our product faster because the regulation is easier in terms of building and developing the product to the companies.
Yeah. So going back what you mentioned about Mexico. So you see in Latin America customers saying, regarding privacy, I'm okay, accept all cookies, everything, you can have my information, and here is something different what you see with your customers, or?
More or less, yes. I mean, the companies here, they are a little bit more, how do you say, like celosos with their information. Mm-hmm. In LATAM or in Mexico, I think that the mindset is a little bit different. They just want to open a bank account, go for the next thing. Mainly, they are not focusing just about their information. They are focusing about bill, growth, and all the stuff. And here they are taking more care. Probably here they are asking you for a NDA and all the stuff that in Mexico sometimes they are asking you as well. But in this case, in our case, it's not like that. It's much more simple in Latam than here in UK and Europe. For example, here in UK and Europe, to be able to operate, we partner with 2 different banks because we don't have our own license. And sometimes it's complex because they are telling us like, you cannot share our data, so we have to be honest with them and we have to say, okay, we have to share the data with 2 different companies to be able to operate, and sometimes it has a little bit of friction to be able to close this customer.
Okay. And I think we have some time, so I'm going to ask a little bit longer term vision. So going back to AI and understanding that you are not doing something specific at present, my question is, what is possible regarding AI in the next 5 years, for example? And it's probably a tough question, but I ask you to dream about it a little bit.
Let's have a dream. I mean, I think that the revolution that we are seeing is more than AI, I will say the generative AI, right? That this is what is new right now, because AI machine learning is something that is here, but also 10 years ago we started with that, right? And the things that are changing so fast is first, how is this computational capabilities that are increasing so fast? That means that you are able to do more things. And the big change that is, in my opinion, is changing completely the rules of the game is the generative AI, and how this is able to generate content that in the past it was just, AI, it was very focused on predictions A/B, so how good you are in terms of credit risk quality, how is your propensity to buy a product, the propensity to do something. So that's very objective, very fact-based, and with the Gen AI you're generating content, and it's opening a lot of discussions about intellectual property, about how transparent you should be with the customer if the customer is talking with a machine and not with a human behind. This type of dilemmas, there are things that we need to start considering because there is a lot of ethics behind and also a lot of, let's say, new business models that will pop up.
So, just to add a few things, the best thing that I really believe that AI is going to bring us is the customer experience for the companies or for the people, and also is the time that we are going to save. That, as I said before, like AI at the end with all the intelligence that it has behind, it going to save us a lot of time. It doesn't mean that we are not going to need to have the same headcount that we have today, but probably the headcount is going to be oriented in another direction.
Okay. So, how are we doing on time? Do we have some time to get some questions from the audience? Anyone that has? Yes?
Yeah, no questions, but time.
I got that. Okay, so let's go back to customer experience again. So. What can you say about the challenges that you have on customer experience and the new developments that you're doing outside of Europe? For example, you mentioned that you're trying to get into Africa. So what do you see different, and what do you see the challenges being in this type of geographies compared to here?
So we are not in Africa yet, but yes, we are planning to go to Africa and Middle East soon. Basically, the advantage that we have as being a startup and not a traditional bank is that to expand, we partner with different stakeholders to do it faster. Otherwise, it's impossible to build a bank in more than 30 countries in less than 3 years. But there are many different things, as I said before, in emerging markets versus developed markets. But also, there are a lot of great opportunities. So if we look at the opportunities that we have, we are able to help companies to grow, to open bank accounts in multiple regions in a short period of time, to send money from one region to a region in a short period of time, decreasing the cost. Also, there is a huge economy of scales when you build something in many different regions. For example, if you get one customer here from Spain, but this customer has operations in emerging markets like Mexico, Africa, we can say, to say some numbers, that the cost of acquisition is 100. Once you divide this 100 between 3 different regions and between 5 different products, the cost of acquisition, it gets pretty low. So that's something that is super good. So at the same time that we have challenge, and we have to understand the customer in different continents. Also, it brings a lot of benefits to build something or a business like is a global corporate bank, or in our case, a global corporate bank that has a small margins.
Okay. And regarding ING, can you tell us about an experience that you had on some strategies focus on customer experience specifically and didn't work as well as you wanted, and what did you learn from that?
Didn't work, that's good. Because normally the questions are more focused on things that you are doing great, but not the things that you are failing. But of course there are things that, I have some examples, especially the ones that we didn't took the customer at the beginning, in the way of, because you are very creative, you are creating a lot of great products and processes, and then in some moment of time in the journey, or at the end of the development, you discover that, okay, it doesn't fit with what the customer is expecting. And it doesn't mean that you didn't do the research and you obtain all the insights, is that sometimes you are using the insights, but you have some bias about what the customer is perceiving. No? Well, the customer is saying that, but I know that in a practical way they are saying a different thing, right? And when you are starting to have these dilemmas and this bias, then the final product that you will put in production is not the right one. And then you need to stop it. And you need to stop it immediately. That's one of the things that the corporate companies, they didn't do well. That is, you are doing something, you consider that is great, finally it's not great, but you didn't stop it. And then you keep the product up and running in production for a long time. So and we did in Spain a lot of things that we close. And sometimes to close part of your products or processes is tough, because it's not easy, or also it's not so much interesting versus to build new things. But you should do it. Yeah,
and follow on to that, how easy is to change things in a big company? Because in startups, it's easier to change things. Yeah, but sometimes it isn't as easy. But in a larger company, how easy is to change things when you're saying that it's not working, but how many things you need to move in order for that change to come in?
I will say that time over time is less, we are more similar. So at least in my case, imagine that we started ING as I said, we were a fintech 20 years ago. We started as a digital bank with no branches, just starting from scratch. And then with one product that was something completely new in the market. So it was like a fintech 25 years ago. So this mindset is already in the organization, and also we are working in Agile, and everything is working faster than expected. It's true that the technology is not the same. No matter that we started 25 years ago, we also have legacy on the technology, The fintech, you are starting from scratch. But also, in 10 years, you are going to have legacy in the technology, and then you need to deal with new things that you are building that are completely time to market is super fast versus things that you did 20 years ago that today is like a dinosaur, right? So then you need to deal with both.
Okay. And how about you, Rory? Can you tell us a nightmare that you had, and you said this was going to be perfect, and ended up being no, we cannot do this, regarding customer experiences as well?
We didn't have that many nightmares. In terms of customer experience, I can tell you one. So we were offering a really huge cashback because the market allowed us to do it. But then we were offering 3% cashback for every single transaction that you were making. But then, as you know, the market changed. So we had the war from Ukraine and Russia. We have the COVID. We have many things. So the margins didn't allow us to offer this cashback anymore. So we had to drop the cashback from 3% to 1%. That is what we offer today. That is still pretty good. But our investors, like Ignia, for example, it could, they ask us to look for unit economics to make a profitable company. Before we were looking for growth, and then we had to speak with our customers and tell them, look, we are not able to offer you 3% cashback, but it was amazing, super good, 3% extra for your margin, but now we are going to be able to offer you 1% cashback. But instead of reducing the cashback, what we did is, first we born as a credit corporate card, and now we are offering much more products. So we are offering the expense management, we are offering payments, we are offering multi-currency. You can have US dollars, euros, Mexican pesos in the same account, and we are offering cross-border transactions. So we reduce the cashback, but we are offering more products. But it was super complex to make understand customers that we were dropping from 3% to 1% cashback in that time.
Because customers loved it at the end of the day, but it didn't work on the numbers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. We had exactly,
I think it's the most important thing, the numbers.
Absolutely. We had exactly the same thing with a company focused on consumers that gave the big cashback as well. And then we asked them, the unit economics didn't work. And then we asked them, are your customers asking for the cashback? And they said, well, not exactly, but we know that the other banks are doing it. And then we said again, did you ask your customers if they want it? And they say like, well, not really, they want this, this, and this, right? So they thought they were giving great perks to a customer that doesn't really needed it, right? And the unit economics were just awful, so it's something really, really similar, so.
Yeah, now we can say that we have a profitable operation in terms of unit economics, and before we were losing some money, but once again, there are different phases in a startup. First of all, it was growth, now it's more focusing in efficiency, unit economics, and different things. So that's good. I mean, there are phases.
Okay. And finally, regarding a bigger company, so what's the balance between those unit economics and the customer experience? Because a startup cannot afford to have bad unit economics in order to increase customer experience. Do you?
But I think that the dilemma, of course, there is a dilemma, but I don't like to see that on a big company. It's the dilemma happen everywhere. I mean, the discussion about the volume, growth versus profitability is always on the market, right? But at the end, it's very important to understand exactly where the profitability is coming from. Because sometimes we are seeing in my case, I'm working in a bank, it's a balance sheet, a lot of money, deposits, lending, and there is a lot of financial KPIs. On a practical way behind, what you have is millions of retail and corporate customers putting the money in the bank, and then having the trust in the bank to operate with you, right? And this engagement with the customer is customer experience. So if you are good on that, then the profitability will come. But you need to be very consistent on provide the best customer experience, and then the P&L is something that on a natural way will come. But if you are going to be very focused on the P&L, of course you are going to destroy your customer experience in the short term. It's very easy to reduce your savings rates or to increase your lending, and then you are going to be rich in 3 months. But in 1 year, the customers will leave. And then you need to balance that this is more important, and the profitability is something that yes or yes is the outcome. It's not the input.
Got it. And a question for you,
I think we're on time.
We're on time now? Okay. Final question or not? No. No? Okay. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks everyone for being this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.